thank you for coming. I'm really proud and honored to be a part of this migration summit. An amazing job by MIT React and Namal. And I was asked to open this session, and I just had a few thoughts of how important it is what they are doing here. So as of 2021, over 84 million people have been forced to leave their homes. So these are migrants, asylum seekers, and internally displaced people, and 26.6 million of the 84 million are registered as refugees. And one of the greatest of the many tragedies of the enormity of this number, 84 million, is that often it becomes difficult to address issues of displaced people as if they're distinct individuals. So as NGOs and governments work tirelessly to deliver urgent and substantive aid and solutions in the face of such overwhelming and organizational bureaucracy, often the thing that gets lost is the voice of the refugee. So it's important to stop and remind ourselves that these are 84 million different individuals with their own accomplishments and passions and fears, obstacles, loves, strengths, and stories. Because it is through these very qualities and qualifications that we can enable displaced people to survive and to thrive. So within these millions of displaced people, we find doctors and physicists, teachers, welders, lawyers, seamstresses, tailors, homemakers, intellectuals, and myriad professionals whose greatest desire is to continue using their skills in order to provide for their families and to be valued parts of their communities, their new communities. The 2022 Migration Summit aims to explore the theme of education and workforce development and displacement. Namal and MIT React seek to collaboratively resolve key challenges and identify opportunities with and for refugee and migrant communities by centering the voice of the refugee and thus building bridges between diverse migrant communities, educational institutions, and important stakeholders. So with this mission in mind, we have the honor today of hearing the personal experience of 5 different individuals directly affected by this crisis. Baraah Alsaid Ramadan, Ibrahim Al-Aboud, Ahmed Abharan, Ziad, and Varus Khan. I'm not going to take more of their time because these are really incredible stories. Our first speaker is Ibrahim Al-Aboud. He's Syrian, and he's an English program manager from Syria. Thank you, Ibrahim.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk about myself, to talk about my story. This is only an example of maybe thousands of the Syrian refugee stories. So thank you so much. I want to share my screen. I have some photos to share. Yeah, so I'm Ibrahim. I'm from Syria. I studied law in Syria between 2003 and 2007. I graduated from the Faculty of Law in 2007, started practicing law in 2008. After the training for 2 years, I decided to continue my study to get a PhD in law. So I started the master's degree in 2010, but as you know, all that the war has begun in 2011. It was really difficult time for me to continue my study, but although all the bad circumstances, I was able to get the master's degree in criminal law with an average of 76%. And the title of my dissertation was about the crime of air polluting. And after that, I applied to PhD in Syria, in Aleppo, but unfortunately couldn't continue because of the bad circumstances. So I moved to the countryside, from the city to the countryside. I lived with my family, with my parents, and with my brothers and sisters for 3 years. At that time, I tried to support people who were displaced. So I create a team to help displaced people to find housing for them and the other supplies. The time was so difficult for me because of ISIS. So ISIS was there in the region where I lived at that time. So this is my house in my village. It was destroyed because of the war, and we were displaced also. Not only that, but ISIS tried to arrest me, to kill me. They said that you are secular because you studied law, because only people should maybe have only one rules from God, not rules from or laws from people. So you are secular, and we cannot maybe treat you or manage your thoughts. So the best thing for you to cut your head. This is literally what they said. And they cut 3 of my friends' heads. So not only that, I was able to hide from them for some times and then escape to Lebanon. But at the same time, they cut my brother's leg in a bomb that they planted near my house. So now he's still in Syria, cannot move to another place because no one will believe that ISIS cut his leg. Above that, ISIS arrested my father twice, only to force me to go back to Syria and to stay with them. In 2014, I left Syria and came to Lebanon. I wasn't able to work as a lawyer because of the rules here in Lebanon that I'm a refugee and I'm not allowed to work. So I didn't find a way to rent a house. So here I lived with some people. So we lived in one room, 12 people in one room. It was really difficult for me to stay. So because the changing of the environment that I lived, I was a lawyer in Syria and I was a student. Then I came to Lebanon to live with 12 people in the same room. Guys were fighting for nothing, playing cards for late night, and maybe listening to loud music. So it was really difficult for me. I was silent most of the time, had nothing to do, only to go to work and sleep when I came back. In 2015, my wife gave birth. So this is my son, Hussein, but he was semi-dead because he had hypoxia. So that's because of the circumstances there. There were no hospitals or anything. So no one told me about that at that time. After 7 months, he got another disease, which is meningitis, because he didn't have the vaccine for 7 months. So it was really a difficult time to have my wife and my parents, my brothers in Syria, and here I had nothing to do. I started at that time in 2015 working in construction. So here some picture of what I did at that time. I only tried to find maybe to find a house to rent and to bring my family, my wife and my child and my parents to Lebanon. But again, it was my work was illegal at that time because refugees here in Lebanon aren't allowed to work. So I tried to work illegally for 2 years in construction. So here are the photos about my work. Then in late 2015, I was able to bring my wife and my child. So my child was in need to treatment. I tried to help him, but unfortunately, I broke my leg at work and I am forced to stay at home for 6 months. I didn't get any support from anyone at that time because there were many NGOs in the place where I lived, in a camp called Sabra and Shatila camp for Syrian and Palestinian refugees. But all of them said that you are able to work. You were able to work before you broke your leg, and you and your child still alive. So maybe there are many people who are in need to our support, not you. So I stayed at home for 6 months, but couldn't see my child needed help and support. So I borrowed that time $2,000 to pay for a center to help him. The center was a charity, but they took money from me. And when I asked them to give me a receipt to provide that I paid for the treatment, they said that we can't give you a receipt. We can give you only a paper that provide that you donated from the charity. And I still have this paper only to provide that. So I don't know why they did that, but there wasn't any way to help myself or my child, even though the UNHCR, they said that you were able to work, so you will come back to work after you heal and you will support yourself and your family. So this is my child in the health center here in Lebanon. In 2016, I was able to bring my parents, and again, I paid $2,000 for them to help him enter Lebanon illegally, not legally, because again, in 2015, the Lebanese government prevented Syrians to enter Lebanon. So they walked for 7 hours on a mountain, and after that, my mother had to have a surgery because she had a problem in her heart. In 2017, I was able to get a job in a store, and that was perfect for me to change from construction to a store. But again, it was very difficult because I had to work late at night. But it's nice to work in a chocolate store. Then in 2018, I decided to do something to support myself. As the UNHCR said that you should support yourself, help yourself. We aren't maybe responsible for you. You can study, you can learn something. So maybe you can help yourself. So I started learning English. because when I searched for a job, looked for a job, most of them said that you should maybe you should be able to speak or to understand English at least. So I registered in a center there in Lebanon, but it was expensive, so I didn't continue. But then I joined Paper Airplanes in 2018 to study English. My lessons were at 5 a.m. Because there wasn't another time to make the lessons, to attend the lessons. I remember that I wasn't able to speak English at all. When my tutor asked me about to introduce myself, I was able to introduce myself as I'm Ibrahim, but I didn't continue because my level of English was 0 at that time. I had only one room. So here in this slide, you can see that I put a curtain in the middle of the room to study in the first half, and in the second half, my wife and my children. After a year of studying English, I was able to get the IELTS certificate with 5.5 out of 9. And also in 2019, I volunteered with Paper Airplanes as a student coordinator. I got a job opportunity in Canada in the Human Rights Committee in Yukon in Canada. Yeah, that was in 2019. And I was able to work as an English teacher, not like a professional English teacher, but only to help some volunteers to translate between English and Arabic in a camp here in Lebanon. In 2020, I volunteered with Paper Airplanes, continue volunteering as the admissions and enrollment coordinator. And I took the IELTS again, but the same scores, 5.5. Because it was really difficult for me to work and to live in one room and to study. It was so difficult. So in 2021, I became the program coordinator at Paper Airplanes. I got a job here in Lebanon with an NGO. I worked with them as student support officer, and then the safeguarding officer, and then the scrum master. But again, they dismissed me because of changing the criteria of recruitment, because the NGO was registered outside of Lebanon. But then when they registered in Lebanon, they shifted to Lebanese contracts. They dismissed me because I'm a refugee and I'm not allowed to work again. So that was the situation. So when I worked with that NGO, I really changed my life. I was able to rent a house, an apartment outside of Beirut. And my wife was able to register to register for the secondary school certificate, the high school, after stopping studying for 10 years. But as I said that again, they dismissed me, and now I'm without a job. And I plan to apply to PhD when I worked with an NGO here in Lebanon. Now in 2022, I'm the English program manager, and I receive a stipend from Paper Airplanes. This stipend, I support 5 families. I forgot to tell you that when I got my first salary with that NGO that I worked with in 2021, I started supporting 8 families in Syria. 8 families because each family needs only $100 to stay alive. Yeah. So, but I couldn't continue with, as I said, with Paper and decrease the number to 5, not to 8. I want to say that this is my story, and as I said that there were many NGOs here in Lebanon, but unfortunately, I'm not sure what's happening, but they don't support the right people. They try to support, but I'm not sure what's the criteria of supporting. So, as you heard from my story, that when I got a job, I could change something in my life. Yeah. So, I mean, I think NGOs could help, could have provided support for me, or in many aspects. On one hand, I didn't receive appropriate health care at that time. So either for myself or for my family. Also, paper airplanes has helped me learn English, but I had to make a double effort to be able to continue. Most students cannot continue learning English because they have to work. I was able to study and work at the same time, but I think that support from NGOs should be balanced from all sides. If I had a suitable job and an education for my children, I would have achieved more, at least to get PhD, which is still my dream that I hasn't yet been fulfilled. So far, I don't have a suitable job. Until now, my child still needs to receive healthcare and appropriate education, as he has special needs. And my family, my parents, they went back to Syria, and my brother still needs support from me. So this is my story. Again, thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak about what happened with me. And I made it specific for me because, as I said, it's an example of other refugees here in Lebanon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ibrahim. That was really, I know it's not easy to tell your story. I know it's been a rough couple of weeks, but it really, I think, is so important that people hear from you. So we really, really are grateful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure.
Now, I was wondering if there are any questions or any comments. Does anyone want to ask anything before I let Ibrahim sit back and take a big breath?
I want to reach in through the screen, Ibrahim, and just give you the biggest, warmest hug. We know how hard that story must have been to tell. And you told it from the heart. And in the end, those are the best stories. And it's been a difficult journey, but when you went through the very sad part of your story, and then you were talking about selling chocolates and the pleasure and the joy, and being able to find the pleasure and the joy in the small things, that's inspiring to all of us, that you have so much resilience despite all the challenges that you've had. Incredible. Thank you for your courage today.
Thank you. And as Kelly said, that I had a difficult time to tell my story. I really tried to forget my story at all. So 2 weeks ago, I tried to tell my story to Kelly, but I forget everything. So when she asked me many questions, so I remembered, because I always try to think, to forget about the past and try to make it as this is the first time that I start and I want to do something different. Yeah.
Thank you. It really was an honor hearing your story. I really, thank you so much.
Can I ask a question, Ibrahim? Now, I know it was a very painful couple of weeks. Now that you've told your story, and I know it will inspire so many, I would love you to share, how has it felt now sharing your story? And what difference do you hope, what's your main message that you would love everybody to hear from you? What's your key message?
From my story, that I want to tell that how my life changed and how can I change maybe something in my life, in my community, when my life changed. So when I didn't maybe get support from anyone, I tried to do something by myself. But again, when I got a job with an NGO here in Lebanon, I started supporting others, and I decided many times to stop volunteering with paper airplanes because I had to work for a long time. But again, when paper airplanes started supporting me with a stipend, I continued with them to continue supporting others, because I think that when someone helped me and I'm in a position that I can give support to others, so that would be amazing. To support one person and this person can support maybe 10 people, so that would be maybe amazing. So if no one can help us, we can do something for ourselves, but we really need the help of others.
Ibrahim, that's really important. And there are a couple of questions. One thing on the chat is Mona Yunus is asking for you to write your email down in the chat, so that if she finds any good PhD scholarship opportunities, she'll send it your way. So please write your email in the chat. And then the other question is, what keeps you going? You know, in the hardest times, what motivated you? You know, what kept you fighting?
Yeah, I had the feeling many times that maybe it's better to send my wife to her, maybe her family, her parents, and to ask maybe my parents to take care of my child and to maybe to stop my life. But when I think that this is the life with the obstacles and challenges, this isn't maybe not only my life, but I should continue and should forget about the past and to do something. I always think that I really want to make a difference in the community, not to maybe make a difference in my life. So that's what motivated me and still motivate me to continue in my life. So if I maybe stop, if I can, I could continue working in construction and get maybe small salary and help my wife and my children. But what after that? I didn't do something. I didn't do anything there in the community or in my life, because maybe because I'm a lawyer, I can do more than others. So I have to do something. So I always fighting to do something.
That's incredible. That's really incredible. And I hope that that as hard as it has been to tell your story and to start thinking about your story again, I hope that at least one of the things that you realize in telling your story is how far you've already come and how much hardship you've already overcome. I think all of us listening, we're really amazed at your resilience and how much hardship you overcame and then came back and, you know, made things happen. And I think that's, you know, that's not nothing. That's a really important thing to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Lorraine put a link right there for you. I just want to say two things. The links on the chat, and I know this is, everybody probably knows this, but I didn't until recently. They will go away when the Zoom is over. So, you know, take those links if you need them. And Ibrahim's emails on the chat also. And please raise your hands, and I will look through your names if you have another question. And I think we may be done now. But thank you. Thank you so much, Ibrahim.
Can we unmute ourselves and give Ibrahim a big round of applause, just to show him the support and the love? Well done, Ibrahim. Well done. Well done, well done. And I think we can follow now. with Baraah's story. Are you ready, Baraah? And how is your internet at the moment? Is it strong enough to be able to share your
Yes, Monica, thank you. Yeah, I think it's well enough.
Good, good. So let me introduce Baraah. I have been practicing your, oh, can you hear? Can you hear us, Baraah?
Yes, I can.
Looks like we might have some internet connection issues with Baraah. Just to, I don't know if we want to perhaps share her video. Would that be a better option because of the internet? But Baraah grew up in a small city in Syria. She graduated as an information system engineer, and she wants to have a master's degree in computer networking and cyber security. She works also at Paper Airplane, and she is a woman in tech coordinator there. And Baraah, it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you, and now it's an honor to pass over to you so you can share your story.
Yeah, thank you, Monica. Thank you, everyone. I'm proud and honored to share my story in the Migration Summit. So I was born and grew up in a small city in Syria, and where women were not able to travel, work, or study freely, but according to a lot of conditions. And when I was young, I always have a dream to obtain an educational degree and to have a successful career. So when I was at school, I studied hard to get this dream. And when I first have my personal computer, I was curious about it and how it works, how its programs are built. And I made a goal to study computer engineering or any field related to the computer and programming. So I studied hard until the high school. I finished high school with a very good mark and started the journey of looking for a university. The first barrier that was that the university is in Damascus, and it's eight hours far away from the city that I live in. And as a girl, it's not possible for me to travel alone or even live alone. So I was not able to register in the university, and I stayed at home. I was very sad and disappointed because I lost this opportunity. But when I had an open internet connection for the first time, I started surfing for and looking for opportunities to learn programming, to study. And through that, I found that fortunately in Syria, we have a virtual university in which students can study from home. They just need a good internet connection and a laptop. And we can from home attending session, doing assignments. We just need to travel to the examination center, which was in Damascus, to do the exams. And that was possible because I just need to travel for 1 or 2 months to do the exams. I was super excited, and I spent all the night surfing in the website and reading all the information there to know the conditions for registering in the university. And then the next day, I told my parents about this university, and they were excited and supported me and encouraged me to register in it. So I was very happy because this is the opportunity that I was looking for. And I registered in information system engineering, which is related to the computer and programming. And I started the journey of online education. So I had some difficulties related to the online education was not familiar in that time, in 2010. But I overcame all the difficulties. And in the second year, I get married. And my husband was also interested in software and programming, and he encouraged me to study. And 1 year later, I give birth to my daughter, and I became a mother for a little baby, and still have the ambitions and continue studying. And I finished the 3rd year while I am a mother. After that, through that, the war started in Syria, and I had to deal with different type of difficulties. So I dealt with the poor internet connection, the list of electricity, but it never surrendered me to stop studying. Until 2014, where the situation went so bad in Syria. So we were bombed every day. We escaped the bombing. We displaced several times to neighboring village. So we didn't feel safe. We didn't feel stable. So here we were just think of surviving and still alive as a family. So I dropped off from the university for about 6 years and lived through the war with very difficult conditions and afraid. Through that, I also gave birth to another 2 children. So our family getting bigger, and we decided to look for another place where we can live a normal life. So we decided to leave Syria, and we went through a very hard and incredible 1-week journey until we were able to enter the Turkish border. And after 1 year, we were able to enter Turkey, and I arrived here. We arrived in Istanbul. When we arrived to Istanbul, we were in a very hard situation. So we started from zero. So we were in a very bad situation, financial, psychological. Our children were also afraid, always afraid. They lost the feel of safety. So we started the journey of rebuilding ourselves, recovering ourselves. I started courses to learn the Turkish language, and I also started looking for a job opportunity to help my husband and support our family. But it's difficult to find a job while I'm a mother for 3 kids, and they were still young. I also started thinking of continue my study. I found that our university had an examination center in Istanbul. So that was great. So I will be able to continue to study and doing the exams here. I registered again in the university. I was in the 4th year. It was very hard to study again after 6 years of leaving all type of study. But I passed it successfully, and I was very happy because I achieved something to me as a Baraah, and some of my dreams that I want to achieve. After that, I joined another bootcamp in Istanbul. It was about web programming. This bootcamp was supported by World Food Program and International Labour Organization. It was not just an technical course. They qualified us to have job opportunities. They connected us with companies. So I finished the bootcamp successfully while I was studying and taking care of my kids, because the bootcamp also was remotely because of the COVID-19. After I passed it, the International Labour Organization connected me with a company in Turkey. So I had the first job opportunity as a web programmer, and I was super excited and also afraid that maybe I will not be able to do that. But it was a very successful experience. After that, I joined Paper Airplane as a women in tech coordinator, because I also was interested in encourage women. Because as a woman, I know the difficulties that every woman faced when she wants to study or to work or to achieve any goals. So I always wanted to support other women, to encourage other women, and joined Paper Airplane as the Women in Tech program coordinator. I also continued studying and finished all my courses, and I'm about to graduate. I also started a new internship with a European company in Switzerland. I work with them remotely. It's an internship. So I like to tell my story to say that to break the prototype about women, that they are not able to succeed in the IT fields or in the scientific field. So I am a woman and I am able to succeed. I also want to break the prototype about refugees, that they are unuseful people. They just need financial support. No, we don't need just financial support. We need opportunities. We can work, we can study, we can succeed. We want to help the communities that we are in. Being a refugee is not our choice, but we want to help the communities that we are living in. We want to succeed, to study. We just need opportunities. So that is my story. Thank you so much for listening.
Everybody unmute yourselves. Woo! Brilliant, Baraah. Absolutely brilliant. That is a women's empowerment story if ever I've heard one. You own your story, and it's a message of hope. But I also love the bit in there about your love for your husband and wanting to support him too. And you did this together, didn't you? You did this as a very supporting, loving marriage and a happy family. And it's an incredible story, incredible story. I hope that you will share it over and over and over to all the women out there who don't believe in themselves, who suffer from imposter syndrome. It's a very powerful story.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Baraah. That was really wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for listening.
It was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, everybody in the chat saying, well done. It's so inspiring. It's so good to hear that you had so much. And I know that you haven't really talked very much about quite how difficult those difficult bits were, but they were difficult. But I hope that you will continue to spread that message. And as the coordinator, I'm sure you will get the opportunity to be able to empower other women. And I'm guessing you're mentoring. Are you mentoring other women?
Not mentoring, but I sometimes offer some coffee chat, some office hours for students, and organize the logistical side for the program.
Yeah, incredible. Yes, as Mona says, to have 3 young children studying and working, it really is. It's a very powerful question. We're so honored and privileged to have heard it. Thank you so much. Big round of applause. Yes, everybody's saying yes.
Thank you so much.
I love what Ziad has just said in the chat. We are indeed all very proud of you, because it's in all of us, we have that resilience, but sometimes we have to dig deep. And when we hear stories like yours, it's very, very enlightening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you. And I think, Kelly, over to you now for our next storyteller. Thank you again, Baraah.
So yes, next, Ahmad, are we ready? I wanted to introduce to you Ahmed Abharan, who is from Syria and is currently an intern curriculum designer at Paper Airplanes.
Yes, thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum. This is the first thing. Hello to everyone. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to tell my story. And this is, as I told Ms. Kelly, that this is the first time that I tell my story to the world or to another body. So first of all, my name is Ahmed Abharan, and I am from Aleppo, from Syria, and I'm 28 years old. And I'm currently living in Erbil, in Iraq. I studied English language and literature at Aleppo University, and I graduated in 2019. But between the studying and the graduation, there is a big story. And let me start this short story in a dialogue between the world and a Syrian person. Let's get started. Where are you from? I'm from Syria. Huh, you are a criminal. Am I? Yes, haven't you said that you are a Syrian? Yes, I have. Then you are a criminal. What did I do? Your nationality is your crime. Is nationality a crime? Yes, it is. Wait a moment. I never chose to be born in there. How is it my fault? How is it my crime? Then it is your parents' fault. But I think that even my parents didn't choose where should I be born. How is it our fault? I don't care whose fault it is. You are guilty. Your nationality is a crime, so you are under arrest. Ladies and gentlemen, your nationality becomes a fault and a dangerous crime when the war flourishes in your country. And that is what happened to us in Syria. I was living in my country when the war destroyed our homes and safety, when the war erased the dreams of the youth, when the war separates the mother away from her husband and children, when the war increased the number of orphans, when the war kills the hope of millions of people, when the war freezes the mind of the scientists and the skills, when the war restricts them to think of but how to be safe until tomorrow. Yes, sirs and madam, ladies and gentlemen, I suffered with the suffering of millions of Syrians. I test the starvation. I rest in the unpeaceful and insecurity place with lots of Syrians resting. I wait the bomb to destroy my home with millions of others. I lost the hope of achieving my dreams and goals with the 30 millions of who have already done. Today, I'm going to vote for something very needed to be changed, especially for the Syrians. And I would like to thank you for giving my speech an ear. And here you are, my voice. My story started in August 2016 when I got a call that tells a rocket had destroyed your home completely. I was very sad at that day, and I think to travel. So the only place that I can travel to is Lebanon. I traveled to Lebanon, which was the only country that many people escape to. Unfortunately, on the border, the Lebanese government didn't allow me to enter legally. I don't know the reasons. I was not going to talk about the reasons, but they didn't allow me. So I had borrowed the cost of the travel. I am homeless. I don't have job. I'm still in the middle of the education stage. So what shall I do? So I will enter Lebanon. In order, I need a safe place and I need a job. So I enter Lebanon. So I had to smuggle in. When I entered, I went to the UN organization to ask them for protection. They told me one thing, that okay, if you register, you will not be able to ever go back to Syria. And if you choose to go back to Syria, you will not be able to enter Lebanon again. And here I stopped for thinking. And I start to think that what shall I do if I got a call that tells me your mother dead, your father dead, your brother dead. We are Syrian. We are like in the Eastern cultures that related to the family. So what shall I do? It will be a big loss for me if I never say goodbye to my mother or to my father or to my brother. So what shall I do? I still have 1 year to complete my education, my first stage to complete my dreams. So what shall I do? I didn't care. I didn't signed up at that time. So I entered Lebanon. I was still living there illegally until I was arrested. So when I was arrested for 13 days, it means that, can you imagine that one person who never did anything fault or any mistake, who never ever hurt anybody by words, not by attack. So I am in prison. So that, by the way, after I banned permanently from the country, I was planning to travel to come back to Syria again after 1 year and a half. I met many people who were registering in the UN as refugees, and also they were entering illegally. So that I asked them, they told me that, yes, we go back to Syria and come back to Lebanon illegally. So this is the first like action. I can imagine that this is the way. So when they needed to travel back to Syria, they did it illegally and very dangerously. This regulation of the UN doesn't keep refugees from traveling back. It only forces refugees to break the law, to be able to help their families, and puts them at the hand of smugglers. So this is, in my point of view, it's a very dangerous thing. Anyway, that was my first issue that happened with the UN organization, that it is our purpose to speak here. So when I was in Lebanon, after that, I borrowed money from one of my friends in order to travel to Erbil, because it is available for Syrian people to travel, but it needs money. So I borrowed money and I traveled to Erbil legally. Erbil is a city in the Kurdistan region in Iraq. And I entered in a legal way so that I wouldn't go back to prison again. I searched for a job for 1 month and more until my provision finished. I used to sleep in the street for more than 7 days. One person told me that you can go to the UN organization and ask for help. After many attempts to only enter to the building of the UN organization, after many attempts, I entered to the UN organization and met one of the lawyers. Then I told her my story, and I told her my qualification, that I am an English teacher also, etc. And I asked her only some help to find a place to sleep, because I'm sleeping in the street, I'm homeless. I offered to work like for no money, just to find a place to sleep in. The response was, we are sorry, we can't offer you any help because you entered the country legally. So I told her that, do you mean that if I came in illegally, I will get your help? I will get an aid? She told me, yes, we can only help people who came in illegally. Then I came back miserable, disappointed, once more again. However, I have discovered that many people here in Erbil, they entered exactly like me, legally by flight, and they signed up and got a refugee status and a protection from the UN. And when I discovered and find out about how they got that, they told me that, yes, we did so because we didn't tell them that we are legally here. We didn't show up that we have a passport. This is also like a bad moment to me. Finally, or before finally, I would like to say that I'm a human being. I have a big dream in my life. My dream is to become a professor in applied linguistics, especially in syntax. And I chose this specific dream or professional career because the lack of our community. I made like a study when I was in Syria. We have only 1 or 2 professors in syntax in our whole Syria. So I chose that dream because of that. So that I am a father. I have a little young daughter. I have a wife. I am a responsible person for my parents. My mother had many sickness. I'm responsible for her until today. And this is an honor to me to help them and support them until the end of my life. So when I'm seeking to register to the UN as a refugee or as like for a job, I have only one purpose and one request, which is to get help in supporting my studies outside and achieve my dreams. Then I will be like independent. I will not be like dependent all the time on the UN or anyone. So I will be independent. I will be I will support myself, my family, my extended family. So I will achieve my dream of education, which is the right of every ambitious person in the world. This is my, like, in the life. Also, I have applied for many universities. Until today, it is about 70 or 80 universities around the world. I got many offers, but these offers are conditional because the money. I apply for the scholarship. 2 or 3 of them, they told me that you are not a refugee, so you can't get the scholarship. I am so close to the step of getting the scholarship. I get everything only because I am not a refugee. I didn't get the scholarship. So how could I obtain a scholarship? So I'm always withdrawing due to the inability to fund myself. To conclude, I would like to suggest 2 things. If there is a way to help Syrian people here in Iraq, people here in Iraq, they are coming to Erbil for two reasons only, no more for third one. The first one, they are escaping from Syria, the young people especially. They are escaping from Syria in order not to include it in the army. This is the first thing. Can you imagine that like a huge number of young people that they are traveling, leaving their country, not to be included in the army, or they are poor in Syria and they are seeking for a job here in Iraq in order to improve themselves and to support their families. So 90% here of the Syrian young people, they are the same, like a small amount of people who are rich and they are living here. Moreover, I hope that UN like declare about a rule that allows to the refugees people to come back to Syria when it is needed, when there is a death situation, when there is like a very emergency, when it is needed, in order not to be like to go to the illegally and to exposure themselves to be threatened or maybe killed. By the way, I would like to thank you so much, and special thanks for paper airplanes, because it is the only place that gave me the hand when it was needed. That was in 2017 when I was studying English with them. Then my passion to paper airplane, my passion and my love to the motto and to the services that they are supporting. I joined them for 3 years until today, and I will never stop supporting and devoting my time and my effort to support paper airplane. And thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ahmad. That was really, really, that was really brilliantly organized, you know, with some very important and clear directives and messaging. And I think that's really, really wonderful when you can do that. Thank you so much for sharing.
Of course, exactly.
Let me see right here. I'm sorry, let me just take a look to see if there are any hands up. Does anybody have any questions at the moment, or did you want to, I'm sorry, Izzy, did you want to move on to the next person and save questions for the end? Is that what you were saying?
We can have a question or two, but then I think move along so we can save them to the end so we can have more of a discussion and get more questions in.
I have a quick, wait, let me see. I have a quick question for you, just to at the end. What are you are looking for mostly right now, Ahmad, in a scholarship?
In fact, I look for only to find support to achieve my dream to complete my studies. In like, you know that when you are going to drink water, you have to go to the source, to the resource, okay? Not to the source, not to the resource. So if you have a river beside your house, you would never go to the market in order to buy a bottle of water. So my specialization is English language and literature. And my dream is to be like, to live the language. So my dream is for 3 countries only, either UK or USA or Canada. These 3 countries, my dream. Can you imagine that? I am dreaming in my sleep. I dream that someday with my family, I'm living there. I swear that I did that for more than one time, that I'm, because of consuming my thinking, this issue.
Ahmad, there's Dania Nusayr said that, do you know that there might be scholarships for asylum seekers, not refugee, in the UK?
In fact,
yeah,
most of them, they didn't like the requirements. Okay, maybe sometimes they ask for maybe only the people who are in the 19th GPA can apply, or maybe sometimes they require like anything that difficult. But in contrast, I got many offers from many universities there, but I couldn't get the scholarship because it is not included in the requirements.
Okay.
So you know that I stopped my university for 2 times because of the war. The first time that when the war has started, the second time when my house destroyed. Though I stopped 2 times. But if you look at my GPA, it is going gradually from 61 until to 74. It is like a very good. And when I always trust myself, believe in myself that I have an ability. And I someday I will do something that the whole world will talk about it. This is my ability. I don't know. It is not like proud of myself. No, never. But this is the confidence of myself. I can do. Here, I'm so restricted. I'm working about 12 hours in a company only for like supporting my living here. Only. I never. And sometimes I'm like less than my needs in this job. That's it.
So we are going to put an email together. Lorraine had asked if you have an undergraduate degree. I know that you do, but we will send an email and we'll ask more questions and get everybody's information at the end of the entire summit, so that we have everything, so we can share with our vast network. Thank you so much, Ahmad.
Thank you so much.
Ahmad, I have absolutely no doubt you'll bring your dreams to life, because with that passion and your enthusiasm, your positivity, and you've got a great way of just expressing yourself, and just we were listening to every single word you just shared. So can't believe that was the first time you told that story. Keep telling it, because the more we tell our stories, the more we make those messages land with people who listen. Thank you, Ahmad.
Thank you so much.
So now we move on to Ziad Chair, I hope I pronounced that correctly, who is a 2nd-year radiology resident in Government Hospital in Damascus, Syria. He's also MIT React Computer and Data Science graduate. He's also volunteered as an academic mentor with Paper Airplanes, who are getting a lot of mention in this session today. And he's also an avid cyclist. Cyclist and enjoys, I've got avid cyclist and enjoys cycling. No, I've written that down wrong, Ziad, right?
It's almost.
Over to you to share your story.
Okay, first of all, can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, that's great. My name is Ziad Sha'ir. I told you the Ain is a little bit hard to pronounce. I come from Syria. And as all Syrians, 11 years ago, the war started in my country, and I was 14 by then. I watched as my dreams faded one after another, but I'm not here today to tell a story about shattered dreams or lost hopes. I'm here to tell a story about how we could change our fate, how each one of us could reach his potential or her potentials. So I'm gonna start from the beginning, and I'll try to be quick. To be honest, I had a happy childhood. Before the war, I was a perfect student with perfect marks, and all I cared about is playing football. But then the war started and we were displaced to another city and another community. I tried to quickly fit in, and I continued my good marks. So it wasn't a surprise for me or for the people around me that I got accepted into medicine school. The first 2 years were actually good, and in the third year, there was my first shock. I took the biochemistry test and I passed like a centimeter above failing line. I know I'm using centimeters, but it's an international event here, so I believe it's okay. And I hated the professor of biochemistry. Like, I madly hated him because I thought that this was my first real life failure. I understand that for some people it's a minor thing, but for me it was the first time that I had like bad grades. My self-esteem was shattered, but I had a belief that biochemistry isn't hard. Like, I could let people understand biochemistry in an easy way. And this is where I came with the idea of BITES lectures to introduce sciences, basic sciences in Arabic and easily in like short videos. And we actually, me and my friends, 3 of them, one of them is actually attending here. I will say hi to him. We made a team. We called it BITES lectures, and we applied for ICT, Incubator of Communication and Information Technology in Syria, in Homs. And we got accepted after 2 months of hard work. And we couldn't believe ourselves. Like, we were the first project that wasn't all about technology that got accepted in the ICT. And we failed miserably. Like, we made like 4 to 5 videos, and that was it. Our team like just split it up, and everyone went their ways. But I believe that it was my most successful failure of my life, because I learned many valuable lessons from it. I learned that to improve my communication skills, to improve my leadership, to improve my teamwork. I learned that sometimes having a team is a little bit more important than having a brilliant idea. And this what allowed me to move on and volunteer with many organizations. That led me to apply for the MIT program, Computer and Data Science program offered by MIT React. And it was a life-changing experience. There I met people from different countries, from different circumstances, people that overcame their difficulties. They made me understand that the more you have options open for you, the more you will be successful in your life. So I applied, I got accepted, I studied for a year. It was a tough but valuable experience, because I was working in the hospital, taking night shifts, volunteering with 2 organizations, but it was highly valuable. Then I volunteered with paper airplanes. It was a long shot because I didn't have the required experience. I applied for a scholarship, and I said to myself earlier, before volunteering with paper airplanes, and I said to myself that if I got accepted at the MIT, I will have any scholarship in the world. And I was dead wrong. I didn't even make it to the program. Like, I didn't even make it to the program as a self-funded student. And I was absolutely like disappointed again and again. Like, I thought, okay, I'm failing again, because I didn't apply for any other scholarship that year. I told myself that I will graduate medicine and then I will try again. But during my experience with paper airplanes, I learned a lot. I taught 2 mentees, and they taught me I believe even more than I told them. And this is where I want to talk. This is what I want to talk about. After I graduated medicine school, I have completed the MIT React program. A lot of students or doctors now, they are called after they graduated, just want to leave the country. As Ahmed said, and as many people said before me, because they didn't want to join the military, because they thought that every minute they spend in Syria after they have graduated is a waste of time. And to be honest, I was taken by the idea, because I thought that, okay, I'm wasting my time too. Until later this year, I discovered that I wasn't wasting my time. I was having valuable experiences as working professionally and getting paid for the first time, even if it was like $30 to $40. It was nothing, but I was working for the first time and getting paid for my time and for my efforts. And this is what made me change my mind. I applied for 4 scholarships this year, 3 programs at Erasmus Mundus, and I applied for Achieving Scholarship offered by the UK. I was interviewed in all 4 scholarships. I was invited to the interviews. I interviewed the 3 programs at Erasmus Mundus. 2 of them put me on reserve list, and I got an offer for a full funded scholarship in BN Precision Medicine program. So I finally thought to myself, okay, this is my reward. Like, now I get the reward of working hard all these years, and for believing in myself, and just thinking that I'm not wasting my time. I'm just taking it to improve myself, to improve my abilities and my skills. I'm still waiting for my interview at the Achieving Scholarship. I'll be traveling to Germany in the end of this month to pursue a career as a physician. And I believe that the table have turned. They were really tricky to be turned, but I did it with the help of a lot of friends and my family. But you will be there. There were some times that I thought that, okay, this is a dead end. I should just change my career or change my life options, or just go in another direction. Maybe be an academic mentor for for a living. I really didn't know, but what I believe is that for us displaced or refugees or asylum seekers, the more we have options, the more we have a better life. Because sometimes, and as many of my colleagues has just told their story, we are sometimes forced in one option, like okay, we traveled illegally, we can't do anything but this option. But when we use our skills, we will use our abilities, we will just keep our options open. And this is really the whole point of my story today, is just try to keep your options, try to live your life to the maximum, and don't believe that you are wasting your time if you are doing something you love.
Please unmute and applaud Ziad. Honestly, that story, the first time I heard it, it's exactly my most successful failure. What a great line. Permission to steal that one, because it's a brilliant line. We've all made mistakes.
But don't use it in a scholarship essay.
But I think I'm so pleased that the tables have turned, and I'm sure your positivity, your optimism for a better life is what going to keep propelling you forwards and forwards and forwards. The comments in the chats, I had one after another, but what a great message of hope and a story of positivity that is. And keep on spreading that message, and all of us are going to be rooting for you for that interview.
Thank you.
Please let us know. And I also heard that you mentioned about mentorship, and I agree. I think peer mentorship is also very powerful. You and Ahmad, I could see Ahmad sending a comment into the chat as well. Hook up after the summit, because that also, that support between yourselves. Nobody understands your situation better than someone else who's also had to escape the bombing and had all of the same challenges. Yeah. So yeah, mentorship and peer mentoring is a fantastic one. So Ziad, thank you so, so much. We're now on to the, thank you so much. We're going to move on to our last and final talk, which is from Varus, who I know that you are celebrating Ramadan and that you need to break the fast very soon. We finish in 10 minutes. So Varus, sorry that it's right at the very end, but let me introduce you. Varus is an Afghan refugee student currently in Pakistan, doing his bachelor's in business administration, and is in his final semester. Varus, because we need to finish at 12:30, just a couple of minutes before, I might have to say, Varus, we've come to the end. But, please,
thank you very much. Hello, everyone.
Your story. Over to you, Varus.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present my story. And my name is Varus Khan, as Monica said. I am a student of Iqra University in Pakistan. I am an Afghan refugee. I am living here in Pakistan since my birth. You know, when I opened my eyes for the first time, so I was stamped with the name of refugee. So if I start my stories from my childhood, it was really very difficult from my childhood, you know, to live like a normal child, because in my childhood, I have seen so many troubles. You know, my childhood was just like a trauma for me. I even do not want to recall my childhood, because, you know, it really, I get some emotions to recall my childhood. You know, when I was a child, I was about 6 to 7 years old when my parents told me, my parents asked me that, Waris, you have to earn money from now. Even now, when I am imagining that a 6 to 7 years old student can, how can he earn money? But it was, you know, just like the requirements that our family needed to do, because our family needed money, and this was the issue for all the refugees there. I was living in a camp, you know, my family was living in a camp in a house of made of soil, where there were 3 rooms in that house, which our parents had made with their own hands, you know. And so in my childhood, I used to go to market on daily basis, and, you know, there I used to sell out some shopping bags. You know, I was holding that in my hands, you know, and wandering in the market, and, you know, selling that on 5 rupees and 2 rupees, like that, you know. And after that, at the night, I used to come to home, and I was holding money to my parents that, take this, you know, this is my earning of today's. So if I recall my childhood, you know, I had never been a normal child. You know, I had never played with my friends. I had never played with toys. I had never lived like a normal children, you know. I was not like a child, a normal child. I used to go to market, earn money, and come back. My friends were customers, and my friends were, you know, the traffic police and the market, and, you know, they were hitting me, beating me, and, you know, punishing me for doing wrong things, because that was childhood, and we were doing some things like, you know, we were going back to the customers, you know, and, you know, requesting them that, please attack this one from me. And, you know, it was really very difficult. Sometimes when I recall that, I just get emotional, and, you know, I laugh at myself that how was that childhood. So I had no friend in my childhood. So one day I was sitting in market in bazaar. I hope you understand bazaar. it's a market type. So I was sitting there and I realized that some children are going in van, wearing white clothes, like it was also like this type, it's for formal clothes here. So white clothes and, booted, shooted, it was really, when I saw them, they are going very clean. And, I was like, my hair was, it was not good, it was not calm. So when I saw them, I realized that why are you not like them? What is the difference between us and them, and why can't be I like them? So then I started thinking on that I want to be like these children. So I had a dream to become like and to live like a life what the other children, what the normal children are living. They were enjoying their lives. So when I came home and I asked my parents that I want to be like them, I said that I want to go to school. So they said that you are not born to go to school. Why do you want to go to school? And who had told you that you have to go to school? So I said, no, I just want to be like them. I want to go to school. Actually, at that time, I had a dream in my mind, but I was unable to express that what should I say to them, that why do I want to be like them? So I said that I want to be like them and I want to go to school. So it was really difficult to convince my parents, but I convinced, I don't know in what way, but I convinced them. They said that, okay, you have to go to school, but what about earning? So I said, I don't know, but after coming from school, I will go to bazaar and there I can earn. So I convinced them. They agreed, okay, you can go to school. I went to a government school without, that was without dues, that was, without anything. And, I was just going early. I was waking up early in the morning and going school. After coming from my school, so I had never seen my home after coming from school, because I used to go straight forward to bazaar from school. I was not coming I was not coming home from my school to to eat my lunch, etc. I used to go to bazaar to earn money. So I had a dream in my mind that I have to bring change in myself and in my family, because I realized that by education we can change. And I had a vision, I had a clear vision that I have to get education whatever it costs. So when I was going to bazaar, and there I was earning money. So half of them I was working too hard. I started working too hard. I think I was 6 to 7 years old that I started working very hard, that I have to earn. I didn't know that how should I work hard, but I was working hard in my own way, that this is the way I should work hard. But I was earning a little bit high from the normal amount from the normal days. So when I was 9 years old, 9 to 10 years old, so then I started working in a shop, because they saw me in bazaar after my school. So they said that, okay, you can come here, you can work with us after coming from school. So they were giving me a little bit good amount, so I was working with them till late night. I want to say something to you, that I was too weak in my studies. It is because that I had no time to do my homework. I had no time to do, my assignments, etc. So I was a very weak student, and I was getting punished every day. But I knew one thing. I was very good in general knowledge, and I was good in having a vision. I had a clear vision that I have to get education, and this was my dream. So after so much struggles, when I passed my metric, my higher education till 10th, I passed my 10th grade. So at that time, I thought that what to do next. So that time I was so much shocked that after this I will be unable to get education free of cost, because here in our country it's very difficult to get admission in government college, uh, where they taking tests, and and it's really difficult for an Afghan refugee to be admitted in government colleges, because they have just only one quota, and I was not that good in my studies to get that one quota. So I started that what to do at this time. Then it was three months vacations. At that time I started working very hard day and night, and at the same time when I was working the whole day, I was teaching some kids from my camp. We are living in a camp, so there were too many kids, and they were wandering like here and there, and I convinced them to go to schools, and there were female kids, I used to come from bazaar, and to teach them in their school studies, and it was just like a school type in my home. Even my parents used to get angry sometimes that you had made our home like a school, and this is not something like we cannot tolerate. So I convinced them that please, I'm teaching them free of cost. Actually they had problem with that, why am I teaching them free of cost? The problem was with them that why am I teaching them free of cost, because you have to tax some money, and instead because but I was not taking any dues, I was not taking any fee, because I realized that the Afghan refugee and our camp do not have money. If I ask them money, they will quit. They will say that why should we get education, because they were not aware of the importance of education. So that's why I opened free of cost tuition to them all, and my siblings were also there with me. So I wanted to change my community. Actually, the main aim was to change my community, not myself, not my family, but to change the whole community. This was my dream. But that time I was unable to do these things, that through which way I should go, and to clarify my vision. But I was trying my best on these ways. So after I worked hard, I earned money, I got admission in college. At that time, I realized that now I should move ahead. In college, once I was sitting with my principal, he had a very good understanding with me. My college principal, he used to talk with me daily. I didn't know that time that why he used to sit with me, because when there was quizzes, I was getting fail in the quizzes. When there was paper, I was failing my paper. Most of the time I was failing my paper. But one day he said to me that, Waris, you shouldn't focus on your curriculum, because I know that you have the skills. You have such a skill that can lead you towards to accomplish your vision, because he knew that I have a vision. He was saying that, what is, just focus on your dreams, just focus on your vision, do not focus on curriculum, because you will learn curriculum every time. If you sit even 1 year, if you get only 1 year, you can achieve your curriculum, but you have to focus on your
Varus,
and your vision.
I think he's
so
just
he
cut
convinced me
off.
too much that, Waris, you have to go. But after completing,
Varus, we've come to the end. I'm so sorry. You cut off and it's actually past, but your message is loud and clear. Big round of applause for Varus. You are passionate about spreading the power of education, and this is what this summit was all about. We need to spread the message that all of us need to pass it forward, and that is what a perfect ending to this session. Varus, thank you so.
One word.
Yes.
May I comment? Yes. Thank you so much, Waris. Trust me that you will change your community. one day.
For sure, I'm trying my best, and I'm still working on that. And first of all, I should thank to Dafi, and I was going to thank them, but I didn't get time to thank because Dafi has changed me, and I will change my community.
You will, Varus, and you really will. So please
for sure.
Connect with each other, because can you imagine all of you guys, all of you together? And we've got Baraah and Ibrahim, who's had to sadly drop off. But if we're going to change the way that we respect, that we look and behave around this whole issue of displacement, it all begins with listening to your stories. Thank you, all of you, for really being so open and honest and sharing your stories. It's been beyond inspiring. Let's keep in touch and let's keep sharing the stories. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Look after yourselves and keep in touch.
For organizing this.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Take care, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you to Namal. Thank you for organizing. Well done, everybody. Bye-bye.